The morning after the Supreme Court's landmark decision, a palpable tension hung in the air. The ruling, which struck down key aspects of President Trump's trade policies, sent shockwaves through Washington and beyond. Donald Trump, never one to shy away from confrontation, appeared live from Mar-a-Lago, visibly furious and ready to unleash his displeasure upon the nation. He called the ruling a disgrace, a complete and utter betrayal of the American people, and a grave injustice that would have far-reaching consequences. He argued that the decision was not just a personal affront to him, but a direct attack on the livelihoods and well-being of American workers across the country. Trump's anger was deeply personal. He saw the ruling as a personal failure and a challenge to his authority. Adding insult to injury, 3 of the justices who ruled against him were his own appointees, individuals he believed would uphold his agenda. "These globalist judges have sided with everyone but the American people," he declared, his voice dripping with disdain and frustration. He used the moment to energize and rally his base, urging them to stand with him against what he portrayed as a corrupt and out-of-touch establishment. He painted the court as an obstacle to prosperity, a roadblock standing in the way of his ambitious plans to revitalize the American economy. He framed the decision as an attack on his vision for America, a betrayal of the values and principles that he believed made the nation great. The speech was far more than a simple press conference or a routine political address. It was a declaration of war on the judiciary, a direct challenge to the authority and legitimacy of the Supreme Court. Trump questioned the justices' loyalty and patriotism, suggesting that they had been swayed by outside influences and were no longer serving the best interests of the country. His words ignited a firestorm of controversy, further fueling the already deep divisions within American society. For millions watching across the nation and around the world, the moment was both captivating and deeply unsettling, a stark reminder of the fragility of democratic institutions. It signaled a deepening rift in American politics, a chasm that seemed to grow wider with each passing day. The legal fight over tariffs was officially over, the Supreme Court had spoken. But a larger constitutional conflict, a battle for the very soul of American democracy, had just begun, threatening to plunge the nation into uncharted territory. The shockwaves from this unprecedented confrontation would reverberate throughout the political landscape, shaping the course of future events. The implications of this clash between the executive and judicial branches would be felt for months, if not years, to come, leaving an indelible mark on American history. To understand the uproar, we need to look at the policy at the center: tariffs. Tariffs are taxes on imported goods, designed to make foreign products more expensive and boost American manufacturing. Trump's latest plan was sweeping, a baseline 10% tariff on most imports up to 60% on goods from bad actors. Supporters argued this would bring jobs back and protect U.S. industries. The idea was simple: make American products more attractive by raising the cost of imports. For many, this promised a return to a manufacturing golden age. But critics warned tariffs would raise prices for everyone and risk a global trade war. Other countries would retaliate, hurting American farmers and exporters. The plan was a high-stakes gamble: revive domestic industry, or trigger economic pain for all. The controversy set the stage for a national showdown. The fate of Trump's tariff plan was decided in the Supreme Court, not the White House. The case challenged whether the president could impose sweeping tariffs without Congress. In a 6-3 decision, the court ruled against Trump, citing the Constitution's separation of powers. Chief Justice Roberts wrote that only Congress can levy taxes, and Trump's plan overstepped executive authority. The majority called it a wholesale rewriting of trade policy, something only Congress can do. Dissenters argued the president needs flexibility in global trade, but their view didn't prevail. The ruling reaffirmed checks and balances, limiting presidential power over the economy. The Supreme Court's decision sent shockwaves through the economy. Wall Street reacted instantly. Stocks of manufacturing giants plunged, while retailers rebounded. Businesses that had prepared for tariffs were thrown into chaos, with investments and supply chains upended overnight. On Main Street, relief mixed with anxiety. Prices might not spike, but jobs in steel and manufacturing were suddenly at risk. A factory owner in Ohio faced uncertainty after betting big on the tariffs. For families, the threat of higher prices faded, but fears of layoffs grew. The U.S. dollar weakened, and global investors saw America as less stable. The ruling exposed how deeply the U.S. economy is tied to the world. The dream of economic isolation clashed with the reality of global interdependence. The immediate fallout was a lesson in how policy decisions ripple through every corner of American life. Instability, not independence, was the new reality. Beyond the cold, hard numbers and complex legal arguments, the court's decision resonated deeply, carrying a significant human cost. It wasn't just about percentages and projections. It was about real lives, real jobs, and the very real anxieties of everyday Americans. In Pittsburgh, a city synonymous with American manufacturing, David Chen, a small factory owner who had poured his heart and soul into his business, felt utterly betrayed by the ruling. He had taken a significant gamble, investing heavily in new state-of-the-art equipment and eagerly hiring new workers, all in anticipation of a brighter, more secure future that vanished overnight with the stroke of a judge's pen. "We invested everything, every last penny, counting on these tariffs to level the playing field," he lamented, his voice heavy with worry. "Now, with this rug pulled out from under us, I honestly don't know if I can keep my people employed." Conversely, in the bustling metropolis of Los Angeles, Maria Flores, a hard-working retail worker struggling to make ends meet, felt a palpable sense of relief wash over her. "Maybe, just maybe, my paycheck might finally stretch far enough to last the entire month," she expressed hopefully. "We simply can't afford for the prices of everyday necessities to keep climbing higher and higher." The nation's leading economists, as expected, were sharply divided in their assessments of the ruling's potential impact. Dr. Emily Vance, a highly respected economist, hailed the ruling as a crucial win for economic sanity, forcefully arguing that the proposed tariffs would have inevitably triggered a devastating recession. She explained, "At the end of the day, tariffs are nothing more than a tax levied directly on consumers, hitting those with the least to spare the hardest." Vance conceded, "The economic transition may be messy and turbulent in the short term, but I firmly believe that the long-term outlook for the American economy is significantly brighter without these tariffs in place." However, Alan Price, a passionate and vocal advocate for American manufacturing, vehemently disagreed, viewing the court's decision as a tragically missed opportunity to revitalize and rebuild American industry. The court, in its ruling, chose to ignore decades of demonstrably unfair trade practices that have systematically hollowed out our manufacturing base, Price asserted. "This was our golden chance to finally reset the terms of globalization and create a more level playing field for American workers." The contentious debate surrounding the court's decision laid bare the uncomfortable truth that there are no easy or universally accepted answers, only competing and often conflicting visions for the future of America's economy. For some segments of society, the ruling was perceived as a much-needed lifeline, offering a glimmer of hope amidst economic uncertainty, while for others, it represented a devastating setback, potentially jeopardizing their livelihoods and future prospects. As a result, the country remained deeply divided, grappling with uncertainty, and desperately searching for a clear and sustainable path forward in an increasingly complex global landscape. Ultimately, the human impact of the court's decision was destined to be as profound and far-reaching as the economic one, underscoring the critical importance of understanding the human cost of economic policy. The Supreme Court's decision, a landmark ruling with far-reaching implications, immediately deepened America's already fractured political divide. The ruling acted as a catalyst, igniting passionate reactions from both sides of the spectrum and highlighting the fundamental disagreements about the nation's economic direction. Trump supporters, who had long championed a more nationalistic approach to trade, saw it as proof of a deep state conspiracy against the people, a betrayal of the promises made to restore American manufacturing and protect domestic jobs. On social media, the narrative was clear. The court, in their view, had protected globalist interests and the profits of multinational corporations, not the struggling American workers who felt left behind by globalization. "Trump was the only one fighting for us. The judges just sided with the elites," said a Michigan voter, echoing the sentiments of many who felt disenfranchised by the decision. For critics, however, the ruling was a crucial defense of democracy, the rule of law, and the long-term economic stability of the nation. They argued Trump's plan, characterized by aggressive tariffs and protectionist measures, was reckless, risking a devastating trade war that would ultimately hurt American consumers through higher prices and devastate farmers who rely on export markets. Business groups and farmers' associations, breathing a collective sigh of relief, celebrated the decision, calling it a vital lifeline for American exports, protecting jobs, and ensuring continued economic growth. This decision is a lifeline. The court prevented a self-inflicted catastrophe that would have crippled our agricultural sector, read a statement from a farm coalition. The ruling wasn't just about tariffs, it was about the fundamental direction and the very soul of the nation's economic future, and its role in the global economy. The clash revealed a country split between the allure of protectionism and the established benefits of global engagement and free trade. The debate over America's place in the world, its economic strategy, and its relationship with its allies and competitors was far from settled, and the divisions exposed by this ruling would continue to shape the political landscape for years to come. With the court's ruling final, America faces a crossroads. The economic path ahead is rocky, businesses must adapt, and markets remain volatile. Politically, Trump is using the decision to energize his base, making the judiciary a campaign issue. The debate over presidential power and America's role in the world will define the next election. The ruling didn't solve the anxieties that made tariffs popular. Globalization's winners and losers remain. Policymakers must now find new ways to address lost jobs and economic insecurity within constitutional limits. The nation must choose turn inward with protectionism or lead in a global economy. The final verdict on America's future will be written by its people, not the courts.